My best friends forever of 8 years tried to ruin my wedding, lied about my fiancé being the father of her baby, and got served divorce papers instead. My best friends forever Samantha, who's 25, and I, at 24, have been tight buds for nearly 8 years. We clicked from the get-go and have been like glue ever since. Sure, we had our tiny spats at the beginning, but nothing major. However, in the last 4 or 5 years, we've had a couple of tiffs, and the latest one is the biggest. Normally, my friend is awesome, always by my side, super nice, and an excellent listener. We both don't hold grudges, and unlike me, who tends to get fed up with people quickly, I have never felt that way about her in our entire friendship. But there has always been this one issue. When she's had a few drinks, she gets super flirty with any guy in her vicinity, which seriously weirds me out because she's got a significant other. Some of our mutual friends have even dropped remarks like, "Isn't she married?" Or, "Does her husband know she acts like that?" It's making her look kind of foolish, and it's not cool. Around 4 or 5 years back, she met her husband, Kyle. Their relationship had a bumpy start, but they managed to buy a house, get engaged, and tie the knot a couple of summers ago. Things took a turn. My best friend cheated on her partner, not just once, but twice, with 2 of my guy best friends, guys I'm always hanging out with, while she was away from him at my place. Sneaky, right? All this happened while I was sleeping at the same house, both on separate occasions but in the same summer. The first time, she came clean about it, but the second time, she tried to keep it on the down low. I had this gut feeling that something fishy went down because she was acting all strange about it, so I went straight to the guy involved, and he spilled the beans. He even showed me texts where she was practically begging him to keep things hush-hush. When I confronted her, she tried to play it off like he took advantage of her, but come on. 2 of my closest guy friends, both times when she was at my place, and all behind my back? That was a lot to swallow. I told her she put me in a weird spot, and I wasn't happy about it. These are the 2 friends I see all the time. And she made it awkward for us to hang out since she cheated on her fiancé with them. I let her know it was really wrong to accuse him of that when we had texts of her saying she wanted to hook up with him. She kind of brushed it off and said it wouldn't happen again, barely acknowledging what she did wrong on a lot of levels. Then, she acted like nothing ever happened, taking zero accountability. I stopped inviting her to hang out with most of my guy friends. It got tricky because she asked me to be the maid of honor at her wedding, and her cheating on her fiancé was really bothering me. I felt bad for him but also didn't want to betray her. I guess I wasn't thinking straight. She never brought up the cheating again and kind of acted like it never happened. It was like she disconnected from the fact that she did it. For some reason, she started trusting everyone who knew about the cheating to never spill the beans to her partner and even invited my 2 guy friends to hang out around her and her husband. I know it might not sound great, but at this point, I was going to be her maid of honor. I was trying to think the best of her and hoping that this was all in the past. I genuinely wanted her to be happy, so I just went along with her story that nothing happened and tried to move on for the sake of our friendship and her wedding. I was just hoping that no one else would spill the beans. Also, when we used to go out, she would still look for attention from guys when she was drinking, but it was mostly harmless, like flirting or dancing. As far as I could tell, nothing serious. The most she did was try to get one of my guy friends, the same one she hooked up with, to spend the night with her again. I shut that down immediately, and nothing happened after that. It was kind of annoying, though, because I ended up having to watch over her when she was drunk just to make sure she wouldn't actually cheat on her husband. It felt like I was parenting my best friends forever to not make any mistakes again. Jumping ahead to about 4 months ago, we went out for dinner and drinks. We got pretty drunk and headed back to my place, where I lived with my boyfriend, Van, of 2 years. At one point, he was upstairs working out with the door closed, and I left my best friend sleeping in the guest room while I went down to the basement to watch some TV and do my laundry. The next day, my boyfriend called me after my best friend left and said she did something really strange that made him uncomfortable. While I was downstairs, apparently Samantha barged into the room where Van was working out in his boxers. She started talking to him about his workouts. At first, he thought she might be looking for me, so he told her I was in the basement, but she brushed it off. She had lost some weight recently and began asking him, "Do you think I look good?" She even lifted her shirt to show her abs. Then, according to him, she went on the floor to do some butt workout moves, saying, "My ass looks so much better since I've been working out," and kept trying to get him to say that she looked good. He found it really strange and didn't want to give her the validation she seemed to be looking for. He suggested she go downstairs and find me. When he told me about it, I was furious with her. I knew she could act this way when she was drunk, but I never imagined she would do something like this with my boyfriend. First off, when you see someone in their boxers, wouldn't common sense tell you to leave the room immediately? And secondly, why would you even care about what your best friend's boyfriend thinks about your appearance or your butt? It just didn't make any sense. I decided to confront her the next day by inviting her to my place when my boyfriend was out. When I started to tell her about what my boyfriend had told me, she started apologizing, saying she had no idea why she acted like that when she was drunk and all that. I told her that I needed space and that I didn't know how I could ever trust her again. The next day, she totally changed her story. She started saying my boyfriend was lying and exaggerating, and she thought I would have seen the conversation as harmless. But seriously, in what world is telling your best friend's boyfriend how nice your ass looks considered harmless? My boyfriend has always been an amazing partner, and he was scared to tell me about what happened because he knew it would hurt me to see her act like that toward him. He has no reason to lie. He's never betrayed my trust. On the other hand, she has a history of this behavior, so my gut told me to believe my boyfriend. I was really upset that she changed her story and wouldn't take any responsibility, especially since this wasn't the first time she'd acted like this when she was drunk. I even told her a list of times she had done this with other guys who were taken or married, pointing out her pattern of behavior. Instead of owning up to it, she kept playing the victim, saying I was being rude for bringing up her past mistakes. She claimed she didn't know where to go from here because she felt uncomfortable around my boyfriend now. This infuriated me because she was trying to flip it around on him, even though she was the one who made him feel uncomfortable and put him in a weird position. At that point, my feelings were all over the place, but one thing was clear. I didn't want to continue the friendship unless she acknowledged her problem, sought help, and tried to understand why she acted that way when she was drunk. I shared with her that I was fed up with constantly feeling like I had to parent her, especially to prevent her from cheating. It had become exhausting, and I expressed my frustration at her tendency to blame everyone but herself for the issues we were facing. I let her know that this pattern had strained our friendship. The conversation turned into a heated exchange as I confronted her about her actions. I emphasized that I couldn't tolerate the lack of accountability and needed her to acknowledge the impact of her behavior on our friendship. She then began to blame me, asserting that I was a bad friend for not believing her side of the story. It quickly escalated into a tense exchange where she accused me of not being supportive and understanding. In the midst of this blame shifting, the tension reached a boiling point. Frustrated and hurt, she abruptly stormed off, saying that she never wanted to speak to me ever again. It was a difficult moment, since she had been my best friend for the last 8 years, but her behavior was now starting to affect my boyfriend, which I couldn't just let her get away with. I accepted her decision and didn't bother contacting her after that. On a Saturday night, while I was out with my friends at 2 a.m., her husband texted me, calling my boyfriend a scumbag for exaggerating. He implied that I was insecure because his wife had been working out, suggesting that I was jealous of her new body. He accused me and my boyfriend of making a big deal out of nothing and told me that I had been a bad friend to her. Just to set the record straight, I was extremely confident and had always been secure with myself. I texted him back, saying, "Maybe one day she'll be honest with you and tell you what you don't know." He replied back immediately, asking what I meant by that. I decided to ignore his message, as it wasn't my business anymore. The next day, unexpectedly, the doorbell rang. To my and my boyfriend's surprise, we found my best friend's husband, Kyle, standing there. His presence was unexpected, but we welcomed him inside regardless. With a palpable tension in the room, Kyle had come to talk to me about the text I had sent him the previous night. He asked me to tell him the truth about why I had sent him that text and if it had any truth to it. I nodded slowly, and Kyle pressed me to reveal more. I was a bit nervous about telling him the truth, since I felt a bit uncomfortable revealing all the indiscretions that my best friend had done in the past. At that moment, my boyfriend stepped in and started to explain to him what had happened between him and Samantha. He told Kyle how uncomfortable he was when she came into the room without his permission while he was wearing his boxers and working out alone. She wouldn't leave him alone and kept trying to show him her abs. It made him extremely uncomfortable, and he had told me. Kyle looked shocked hearing this and told us that he had heard a completely different version of the incident from her and had no idea that my boyfriend was in his boxers when she barged in. He looked embarrassed and fumbled an apology as he sat there in disbelief. I suddenly felt bad for the guy. Here he was trying to apologize to us for his wife's behavior when he had no idea how his wife had behaved much, much worse with other guys. I took a deep breath and decided to spill the entire truth to him. I told Kyle about her past indiscretions, detailing the occasions when she had cheated on him with other guys that I was friends with. Kyle looked at me dumbstruck and asked me if I was sure that Samantha had gone so far as to sleep with them. I nodded and showed him the screenshots that I had kept, which proved that she had slept with these men while married to Kyle. Then Kyle, still shocked, asked me why I had not told him about these incidents before. This was a very valid question, and I started to apologize to him for keeping these things a secret, explaining that I didn't want to betray her trust since she had been my best friend for all these years. I told him how every time we went drinking I would have to parent her around so she wouldn't end up sleeping with someone else. The revelation hit him hard, and the weight of the truth became apparent in his eyes. He expressed gratitude for my honesty, but made it clear that there was no way he could continue living with her after learning about these betrayals. I understood his point of view. He told me that he had a lot to think about and asked me not to tell my best friend anything about his visit. I nodded in agreement. He then thanked me for being upfront and left. It was a surreal and intense moment, realizing that my best friend's actions had led to the end of her marriage. In the aftermath of that tumultuous period, I never talked to Samantha or Kyle at all. From what I could gather, they appeared to still be together, indicating that their marriage hadn't crumbled despite the revelations. Personally, I decided to channel my energy and attention towards my own life and career, consciously distancing myself from the complexities that had defined that chapter. Fast forward to just 2 months ago when a delightful twist unfolded in my life. My boyfriend decided to take our relationship to the next level in a heartwarming and unexpected turn of events. He proposed to me, marking the beginning of a new and hopefully more serene chapter in our journey together. It was the happiest day of my life, and I posted our engagement pictures with my new ring to my social media. My friends started congratulating me, and I guess some of our mutual friends might have informed Samantha as well. She called me multiple times in the middle of the night, and when I picked up, thinking she might have called to congratulate me, she instead started yelling at me that I couldn't marry my fiancé. I was taken aback by her words. She continued to yell, saying that I needed to break up with him as I couldn't have a happy ending after choosing him over her. My fiancé, who was sleeping next to me, woke up groggy, asking me what happened. I put her on speaker so he could hear how crazy she sounded. She continued, saying how my fiancé was a piece of, and that she was going to destroy his life for what he did to our friendship. Fed up with Samantha's angry rant, I had enough. I told her she was going too far, and I hung up, feeling irritated and not willing to put up with more of her drama. The next morning, I woke up to a bunch of angry messages from Samantha, all about how she would wreck our wedding. Feeling a bit uneasy, I decided to call Kyle. He shared that she had been acting super agitated since the previous night, but he had no clue why. I spilled the beans about my engagement and filled him in on what Samantha had yelled at me over the phone. I even sent him screenshots of her furious messages. After checking them out, Kyle finally said, "This is why she's been so worked up since last night." Perplexed, I asked him what he meant. He explained how she spent the night drinking by herself, mumbling about having to do something, but he had no idea until now that it was connected to our conversation. Worried about her threats, I told him I couldn't take them lightly, considering her history, and there was a good chance she might show up at my wedding to cause trouble. This is when Kyle revealed that for the past few months, he had been secretly meeting with his lawyer and moving his assets or signing them off to his parents. He wanted to divorce Samantha, but before that, he needed to be ready, as she would definitely play dirty to get her hands on his money. Even though there was a chance that she might never win any alimony, since she had cheated on him and he had proof, he still didn't want to take any chances. This is why, over the last 4 months, he had been rearranging his assets, waiting for the right opportunity to officially divorce her. He told me that if Samantha wanted to show up at my wedding and make a scene, then he wanted to teach her a lesson by handing her the divorce papers. I was a bit uncomfortable at first with this, but my boyfriend, who had been overhearing our conversation, readily agreed with Kyle. The plan would only be set in motion if Samantha showed up to our wedding to create a ruckus. Last week, we finally had our small wedding at the church. It was a cozy gathering with close friends and family, and we felt really happy exchanging our vows. During the ceremony, I kept a lookout, kind of expecting Samantha to appear and cause trouble as she had threatened. The worry was still there, but Kyle was ready. He had the divorce papers, just in case she decided to show up and create a scene. As the priest asked if anyone had objections to our union, a voice cut through the moment, revealing that she indeed had a problem. We looked back in shock, and to my horror, it was Samantha. She was standing in the middle of the aisle, and clearly, she wasn't about to let our wedding proceed smoothly. The joy and excitement quickly turned into a tense and awkward silence as all eyes turned to her. Samantha started accusing Van right there in front of everyone, saying that he was the father of the child that she was carrying. He looked at her, shocked, and I couldn't believe how ridiculous her lies were. She continued to yell that she was pregnant with his child and that she couldn't let him get married to me. Every one of the guests, including our parents, looked at us in shock. The atmosphere went from pure joy to complete chaos in seconds. My dad looked at me quizzically, trying to get confirmation from me. I closed my eyes in exasperation as I knew what was about to happen next. Samantha looked at me and smirked, knowing that she had successfully embarrassed us. Before Samantha could utter another word, Kyle got up from his seat. She looked stumped seeing him suddenly, perhaps not expecting to see him among the guests. He approached Samantha with a calm yet stern expression on his face, clutching a small envelope in his hand. The tension in the room was palpable, and everyone watched as Kyle handed her the envelope. Samantha looked bewildered, not fully comprehending what was happening. With precision, Kyle declared, "Samantha, you are the biggest liar and cheater I have known in my life, and you have left me with no choice. Now I think it's time you know that I have been preparing to divorce you these last few months for the multiple affairs that you have had. Here are the divorce papers." The room hushed as Samantha opened the envelope, revealing the divorce papers. The realization hit her like a ton of bricks. Her plan to disrupt the wedding had backfired spectacularly. Kyle, maintaining his composure, started to explain to everyone present that he couldn't tolerate her lies and manipulations any longer, and that she had been unfaithful in their marriage. He also announced to everyone that Samantha had a tendency to lie, and because she had a grudge against me and Van, she had decided to show up and interrupt our wedding. My husband and I exchanged glances, relieved that Kyle had been there to reveal the truth. Samantha, now facing the consequences of her actions, seemed stunned. The guests, initially shocked by her accusation, whispered among themselves. Van took his chance to ask everyone to remain seated, and then asked Kyle to escort Samantha out, who stood there looking embarrassed. Kyle nodded and took her out while the ceremony proceeded as planned. As you can guess, even though our wedding went well, all our guests did was talk about Samantha. Some had even taken videos of the incident, and I have seen some of them on various friends' chat groups. I feel a bit bad about Samantha, but I guess she got what she deserved. Everyone is as shocked as I am that Samantha could go so low by accusing my husband of being the father of her child. Since the incident, she has tried to call me multiple times, unsuccessfully. From the messages she has sent me, I can see that she blames me for her divorce and for not warning her about it. AITA? Update 1. Thank you to all for your advice. You all really opened my eyes to some things about my best friend that my brain had tried to avoid for the sake of our friendship. But I realize now that she was never truly a friend to me. She was indeed extremely toxic and manipulative. My husband and I are currently on our honeymoon, so I don't want to spend a lot of time dealing with Samantha's drama. I've also decided to cut ties with her completely at this time. Despite her attempts to shift the blame onto me, I understand that her actions and lies were the cause of her failed marriage. My parents, who had known Samantha for a long time, since she was my best friend of 8 years, are also very disappointed with her. They had no idea that she would go to such lengths to try to interrupt my wedding. She had clearly tried to embarrass me and my husband, but in the process, she got embarrassed when her husband handed her their divorce papers and revealed her lies. Since the incident, I have learned a valuable lesson about toxic friendships and the importance of surrounding myself with people who genuinely care for my well-being. My focus now is on building a happy and healthy life with my husband. The support from friends and family during the wedding incident has been reassuring, and I'm grateful for the love and understanding they've shown. Update 2. It's been 2 months since my last update. Van and I have remained in touch with Kyle, and he continues to be a dear friend to us. Kyle is in the process of getting his divorce from Samantha, and as expected, she is fighting tooth and nail to get alimony from him. At first, she tried her best to convince Kyle that I had made things up about her having affairs. But eventually, she confessed the truth when he told her that he had screenshots as proof. She then tried to beg him to forgive her, but Kyle was determined to stand his ground. As for Samantha's attempts to reach out to me, she initially alternated between pleading for forgiveness and hurling accusations at me, claiming that I ruined her life. I chose to maintain my distance and then blocked her on all forms of communication. It was crucial for my mental well-being to prioritize my own happiness and not let her negativity seep into my life. She then started messaging Van, who immediately let her know in no uncertain terms that he had had enough of her crazy behavior and would take the legal route to get a restraining order against her if she continued. Since then, she hasn't tried to contact us. Some of our mutual friends have also stopped talking to Samantha since finding out about her antics and various affairs. It's clear now that Samantha can't hide herself behind blaming others, and I hope this time she learns a valuable lesson about owning her mistakes for once in her life. Update 3. It's been 7 months since my last update. The only reason I'm back on Reddit is because I wanted to share with everyone my happy news. I am pregnant with Van. I know all my previous updates have been filled with drama, but this time, it's nothing but pure joy and happiness. Van and I are over the moon about expecting our first child, and it's a wonderful new chapter in our lives. As for Samantha, she's become a distant memory. We continue to invite Kyle to visit us, and he is officially a divorced man. Fortunately for him, Samantha couldn't get any alimony due to her multiple affairs, and he is finally free to do whatever he wants. To those who offered advice and support throughout this roller coaster, thank you. Life is now filled with the excitement of starting a family, and we couldn't be more grateful for the love and positivity around us. Wishing everyone the best in their own journeys.